To a very spooky edition of Cooking with Unity. I figured I'd show this one more time because it is Halloween and this is my costume, and this may be my only chance to actually wear my costume because it's going to be raining tonight, so I can't really project this on my wall like I was intending. Maybe. I might see if I set up some tarps or something. Anyway, this is available on the Cooking with Unity Super Repo, so if you want to see how this little dude was made, check it out. If you have leap motion, you can do the hands. If you don't have the hands, you can still do the face talking thing. So, I had to scratch my nose. That actually worked. That was crazy. I actually scratched my nose, and it looked like I scratched my nose. Anyway, yeah, so let's get on with the show. So, what we're doing... Wait, why is Unity not open? Oh. Swear I never had this open. I guess I closed it. Like an idiot. So on our last episode, the last couple episodes we were doing interact stuff, and so like the last episode we got a camera switch working. So if you go over here and you interact with this console, it takes us a little second. The first does when you load in this text in the corner, believe it or not. So excuse me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna interact with that, and then we can see the security camera. If we stop interacting, we stop interacting. So this kind of changes the camera context. What we're going to do... Why is that going on? What we're going to do is... we're going to play around with changing context to another type of gameplay. So we're going to switch from being on foot to being in a car. And I've included the sample assets... Sorry, the sample assets beta, which is Unity's new standard assets, basically, that they've been working on for a while now. And this includes a car in it, so that's really useful. So I'm going to just duplicate this scene real quick. We're just going to go camera switch. I'm just going to duplicate it. We're going to just drag it out into here. And we're going to call this scene car switch, is what we're going to call it. Actually, let's call it, what did I call the show? Getting in a vehicle. Getting in a vehicle. Alright. So, I'm going to open up this scene. And the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to add our car. So, I'm just going to go into Sample Assets, Vehicles, Car. So, we're going to go to Prefabs, Car, in the scene. And let's move it up just a little bit so that it, whoops. Oh, that's prefab that I'm editing there. So let's click the car and move it up just a little bit and move it over to the right. And so we're going to hit play. And so we have our car there. And if we move forward, you'll actually see the car starts driving forward. And if we move back, it actually starts driving backwards. Looks like it even has like tail lights for certain modes, which is cool. And then we can turn it and stuff. But we're controlling both, which is obviously not what we want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new script. Create C# script. And we're going to call this, what are we going to call this? Let's call this interact switch to vehicle on interact. We're going to do this as simply as we can. And so basically my theory and what we're going to try here is we're going to just disable the scripts that we don't want when we enter the car, and then we're going to disable the player, which should be tagged as player, but he's not. So let's tag him as player first. And we're going to put the car into the interact layer so that we can just use the same type of stuff that we were doing before. And I'm actually going to copy over the script that we have for switch camera. I'm going to duplicate it and bring it over here instead of... So I'm going to just copy that, delete this one, paste this in here, and then open this, and quit Better Snap Tool. Alright, and then we're going to change the name, so switch to vehicle on interact. So in this case, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to have a list of behaviors to enable, and we also will probably... Yeah, we'll do behaviors and objects. Yeah. So we're going to need to set up one more thing, though, first. So let's disable our first-person controller and show one of the problems. So if we disable our first-person controller... we already have a definition for switch camera. Oh, I didn't save this. Save. Alright, so if we disable the first person control, you'll notice that it's very dark in here. And we get null reference exceptions and bad things. And, I don't know, were we getting those before? Like if we turn on our first person controller, does that fix that? I just realized I hadn't looked to see if we were getting... Nope. So it has something to do with the camera not being enabled. So let's get rid of our first person controller and let's make sure that our car has a camera. So let's create a camera. And let's put it inside the car. Let's zero it out and then move it back and up a little bit. We'll just look at the little preview there and try and make it so that it looks like something like you might see in a driving game. That probably looks pretty good if we go to game view. Yeah. So let's see how that plays. Let's just hit play. Alright. And we can drive the vehicle around. Cool. It's not very exciting looking, but it does work. I don't know what that sudden spin was. We're still getting null reference exceptions. I think it's relying on main camera, so I'm going to actually mark this as main camera. And there, the null reference exceptions went away. And it seems like it's driving better now, so I'm not sure what that was all about, but evidently it's important. So we can drive a car around. I'm actually going to change the angles just a little bit on this camera. Alright, so we've got the car, it has a camera, and I'm going to turn the first person controller back on. And what we're going to do, in this script, we're going to want to enable or disable things. Actually, we had something that was more appropriate than this. It was an interact. That's what I wanted to actually copy. Toggle game objects on interact. So we're going to be doing something similar to this, except for we're going to be toggling components, rather not components, but behaviors rather than game objects. So let's do this real quick. So we're just going to do a public component. No, sorry, behavior. This behavior list. Vehicle behaviors. We'll keep the escape key. We'll keep active now. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to basically be doing this stuff, except for instead of new camera enabled and objects get components, we're going to do it slightly different. We're going to do for each vehicle behavior, I'm just going to call it VB for vehicle behavior, in vehicle behaviors. We're going to do vb.enabled equals true. And then finally what we're going to do is we're going to set, we're going to disable our player entirely. So we're going to do find, game object dot find game object with tag player. Did I do this on all? Oh wait, it just tags the top layer. Perfect. So find game object with tag player, and we're going to set active false. And then we don't need this stuff. So this is switch everything on. Switching it all off should be basically the same thing. So we're just going to copy this, paste it in here, but replace it with false and true. And because I don't want to have to bother check marking and making sure things are right, I'm going to just make sure that everything gets set the way that you would expect at the start, which is all of these things enabled to false. And let's not mess with the player, actually. Let's just make sure that these things are disabled properly. So save, and void cannot be used in this context. What did I do? Oh, we missed this thing. There we go. Save. Compiles, yay. So now we're going to put this script on our car. And what we're going to do is we're going to start filling out its behaviors. So we want car self-writing to be disabled, car audio to be disabled, and car controller to be disabled. And additionally, we're going to need the camera to be disabled. Now, you'll be like, wait, how can I actually even drag the camera in? So what we can do is we can create a new inspector here. We can just right-click inspector, choose Add Tab, Inspector, and now we have two inspectors, and we can lock one of them. So we're going to lock this one on the car. I'm going to dock these so you can see both of them. So we're going to lock this one on the car, and then when we click on the camera, the other one will change, and we can now drag in the camera into the vehicle behaviors. And let's also put the audio listener on that so we don't get the two audio listener problem. So so this might be all we need to do. Let's see what actually happens. I'm curious myself. So close tab, I'm going to undo this, and we're going to hit play. So you'll notice that we're still turning the car, and it's still driving. Why is it still driving? Is this stuff enabled? It's disabled, but... Oh, car user control. That might be another thing to add to the list. So let's do that real quick. Car user control. Bam. So let's see if that fixes our problem. Okay, so it's not driving around. Is it? Yeah, no, it's not. It just looked like it was because this is a floating block, even though it doesn't look like it without context. So we're going to get up to it. It says press fire to interact. We hit interact. Send message, interact has no receiver. That's odd. So what are these colliders actually going to? This might be one of these things where we have to create a new collider for this. Because we definitely have interact in here on switch vehicle on interact. So this should be working. But it's not naturally, so let's look at this. So we have a rigid body on here. So I would have thought that this would have passed up any collisions we got from the colliders here. Huh. Are there any other colliders that we're looking at? No, naturally not. Oh, that's right. That's right. We're not sending it to... Okay, so let's actually change our script, our interact script slightly. Hopefully this will not break anything. So right now we're just sending a message to the collider itself. We're not sending it to anything above it. So so I think there is a send message upwards. Send message upwards. Yes, there is. So let's use that instead. So this means if we get a sub collider, this is really common in the case of like an interact to send a message upwards, because a lot of times your collider's at the bottom of the car, of the vehicle or of the object, and then you want to move it to the first thing that will interact with it. So we're going to save this. I'm going to hit play, and hopefully this will just work now. So go over here, and we hit fire 1. There we go, and we're driving a car around. Sweet. So now if we hit fire 1 again, we didn't quite successfully come back from that. So our first person controller was not... Oh, that's right. So our problem was we tried to... Here's the problem. So find game object with tag will actually only find active game objects. It's kind of annoying. So we have to actually store the player at the start. So let's do that. We're just going to do private game object player... and then in the start, we're just going to do game object find tag player, and we're going to set player equal to that. So now we have a reference to it. And then we're going to change these to say player.setActive and player.setActive. Save. So we hit play. Got one more thing to do after this too, but I just want to see how this is working. Fire 1, yay, we can drive around. I'm just going to drive over to this side, and then I'm going to hit fire 1 again, and we're back to a player. The problem is we've driven over here, and now our player is way over here. So we need one more quick thing. So all we're going to do is I'm going to create a object in the car. I'm just going to create a new empty child, and we're going to position it so that it's kind of where the driver's side door is. So let's look at this. So let's just put it here, a little bit more to the side. And I think our player is set up so that no, he's not set up that way, naturally. So his feet are not where his feet should be at all. So we should definitely put this up a little bit. If you're doing your own projects, I highly recommend that your player actually be set up so that the registration point is, his pivot is at the feet, like we're doing in FICO, right? So we'll just do it right there. That looks pretty good. It'll probably work. If we fall through the world, it'll be a problem. But okay, so we're going to go to our script again, switch to vehicle and interact, and we're going to add a public transform exit point. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do player dot transform dot position equals exit point dot transform dot position, or exit point dot position. All right. So now if we hit save and we go to our game object, we go to our car and we make sure that exit point is set to our game object, which I'm going to rename to exit point. And we're going to hit play. And hopefully we'll do all this without falling through the world. So I'm just going to get in the car. We're going to drive it around. This has sound. Yeah, let's actually test the sound. We get in here, we don't hear any sound, we get in the car, we get some sound. And then when we get out of the vehicle, there we are. So, unfortunately the car is still operating for some reason. Even though, like, car, auto... Huh, I wonder why the sound is... Oh, probably because it actually just enables the audio source. Yeah, and I think it had an acceleration, so we were messed up on that here. Or we're missing some scripts that we need to disable. So if I stop completely... and then I get out. Whoa! Fell through the world. Okay. So let's go exit point. Let's make this a little bit higher. And then let's move it over a little bit more to the left. Let's also do player.transform.rotation equals exit point dot rotation. So that way we will when we get out of the car. Save. Play. I'm going to get out of the car. Wow, I was facing a weird direction there. Here, pause. Hold on. Go to exit point. Well, it looks like it's facing that direction. Oh, I know what's wrong. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's not going to fix it just rotating our body because we have this camera thing that rotates separately, don't we? No, that should have worked if we rotated this... Huh. That one worked. Now I can't get back in the vehicle for some reason. Let's see what we did wrong. Oh yeah, I didn't actually say active now equals false. There we go. Save. Alright, so if I jump out of the car, it jumps out, it looked like it worked, and we did it just before it went off the edge. That's great. So I think it just maintains velocities that it has, which is kind of fine. I'm just going to give it a little bit of idle and just see if it's actually a velocity or if it's actually continuing to give it some power. So we're just going to do that and then get out. And we'll see if this actually comes to a stop or if it just keeps going forever. Alright, so it's just standard physics acceleration. Because it looks like it is slowly coming to a stop. That's acceptable. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm going to save scene, and so thanks for joining us. Hope you had a great time, and if you have any questions, please email me pushypixels@pushypixels.com. You can also tweet me at Dracfire, and please donate to the show. Your donations help this show out a lot. We really appreciate it. And you get access to the cool Cooking with Unity super repo that will have more cool stuff in it as time progresses. I'm your host, Max Moreau, signing out.